Which side are you on, Rebel Diaz? Here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Our guest for the hour is Noam Chomsky. He has authored over 100 books, his latest, Hopes and Prospects, among others. Professor Chomsky, I want to ask you about former President Ronald Reagan, right? Very big deal is made of him now on the 100th anniversary of his birth. Last year, President Obama signed legislation establishing a commission to mark the centennial.
President Reagan helped as much as any president to restore a sense of optimism in our country, a spirit that transcended politics, that transcended even the most heated arguments of the day.
Noam Chomsky, your response.
This deification of Reagan is extremely interesting and a very, I mean, scandalous, but it tells a lot about the country. I mean, when Reagan left office, he was the most unpopular living president, apart from Nixon, even below Carter. If you look at his years in office, he was not particularly popular. He was more or less average. He severely harmed the American economy. When he came into office, the United States was the world's leading creditor. By the time he left, it was the world's leading debtor. It was fiscally totally irresponsible. Wild spending, no fiscal responsibility. Government actually grew during the Reagan years. He was also a passionate opponent of the free market. I mean, the way he's being presented is astonishing. He was the most protectionist president in post-war American history. He essentially virtually doubled protective barriers to try to preserve incompetent U.S. management, which was being driven out by superior Japanese production. During his years, we had the first major fiscal crises. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the New Deal regulations were still in effect, and that prevented financial crises. The financialization of the economy began to take off in the 70s, but with the deregulation, of course, you start getting crises. Reagan left office with the biggest financial crisis since the Depression, the home savings and loan. I won't even talk about his international behavior. I mean, it was just abominable. I mean, if we gained our optimism by killing hundreds of thousands of people in Central America and destroying any hope for democracy and freedom, and supporting South Africa while it killed about 1.5 million people in neighboring countries, and on, if that's the way we get back our optimism, we're in bad trouble. Well, what happened after Reagan left office is that there was the beginnings of an effort to carry out a kind of with this Reagan legacy, you know, to try to create from this really quite miserable creature some kind of deity. And amazingly, it succeeded. I mean, Kim Il-sung would have been impressed. The events that took place when Reagan died, you know, the Reagan legacy, this Obama business, you don't get that in free societies. It would be ridiculed. What you get it is in totalitarian states. I mean, I'm waiting to see what comes next. This morning, North Korea announced that on the birthday of the current god, a halo appeared over his birthplace. That'll probably happen tomorrow over Reagan's birthplace. But when we go and, I mean, this is connected with what we were talking about before. If you want to control a population and keep them passive, keep beating them over the head and let them look somewhere else, the one way to do it is to give them a god to worship.
Noam, you've written about, over the years, COINTELPRO, FBI raids. We're seeing that today. There's almost no attention given to it. We have focused on it a good deal on Democracy Now! From Minneapolis to Chicago. The FBI raids, activists being subpoenaed to speak about in various cases.
Yeah, that's pretty, it's not just, the raids are serious enough, but what's more significant is what lies behind them. These are the first actions taken under new rulings by the Supreme Court. A very important case was 6 or 8 months ago, I guess, Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project. It was initiated by the Obama administration. It was argued by Elena Kagan, Obama's new court appointment, and they won with the support of the far-right justices. The case is extremely significant. It's the worst attack on freedom of speech since the Smith Act 70 years ago. The case determined that any material support to organizations that the government lists on the terrorist list is criminalized, but they interpreted material support. In fact, the issue at stake was speech. Humanitarian Law Project was giving advice, speech, to a group that's on the terrorist list, Turkish PKK. They were advising them on legal advice and also advising them to move towards nonviolence. That means if you and I, let's say, talk to Hamas leaders and say, look, you want to move towards nonviolent resistance, we're giving material support to a group on the terrorist list. Incidentally, the terrorist list is totally illegitimate. That shouldn't exist in a free society. Terrorist list is an arbitrary list established by the executive with no basis whatsoever, by whim, for example, but no supervision. And if you take a look at the record of the terrorist list, it's almost comical. So take Reagan again. In 1982, the Reagan administration decided it wanted to aid their friend Saddam Hussein. Iraq had been on the terrorist list. They took it off the terrorist list. They had a gap. They had to put someone in.
South Africa and
put in Cuba. They put in Cuba because, and I suppose in honor of the fact that in the preceding several years, Cuba had been the target of more international terrorism than the rest of the world combined. So Saddam Hussein goes off, Cuba goes on, no review, no comment, and now with the new Obama principle, advising groups that are arbitrarily put on this group is criminal, and that was the background for those raids.
Noam Chomsky, we're going to continue this conversation online and play it on the show again. Noam Chomsky, professor of linguistics, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.